To get started making this chair in Fusion 360, I want to click on Modify, Change Parameters, and set up User Parameters. Here I have a parameter for ply, which is the thickness of the material that I'm going to use, bit, which is the router bit of 1/4 inch. Note that these units are in inches and the rest of the units are in millimeters. I also have dimensions for the seat and the seat angle, which is in degrees as its unit, depth, backrest, and board. You can have as many or as little user parameters as you wish. I definitely recommend having a user parameter of thickness or ply for your material. Then we need to create a new top level component. I'll call this component seat. And I want to create an offset plane from the ground plane. I want it to go up a distance of seat height. And then I want to create a sketch right on that plane. In this sketch, I'll use a center point rectangle to define the seat. I'll click on the origin, and I want this to be seat depth. Press tab, and then this will be seat width, and press enter. I can finish the sketch, press E to extrude, and go negative ply. So I'm going to create a new top level component, and I'll call this side. So I need to create an offset plane from the center plane, and we're going in a negative direction. So I want to go negative seat width divided by 2, and then I want to add a dimension of ply. So it comes back just a little bit. We're adding this dimension to subtract since we're going in the negative direction. And so now I have this offset plane here. I can create a sketch on that plane, and then I press P to project. I grab the seat geometry and press OK. Now I'm going to use the line tool to begin drawing out the seat. I'm going to start at the front of the seat here. Click to go down. And then I'm going to draw out the leg. And I'll come up, over, down. And I don't have to be perfectly accurate with this because we're going to add dimensions and constraints as we go. Then up at the top here, I'm going to add a tab now, making sure to try to lock in those 90-degree perpendicular marks. And as we come down here, there's a couple things that I'm going to want to do. I'm going to go a little bit past this and make sure I click coincident. And I'm going to come back, but not all the way, then come down. This is so we can make a slot for it to install. Then I'll come over some way, up, over, down for a tab, then come over. Then I'll go up, over, down for a tab. Then I'll draw one more line right here. So that should be all the lines I need for my sketch. Let's start dimensioning and constraining this so our chair comes to life. The first thing we want to make sure is that the chair is on the ground. So I'm going to click this line in the origin and make it coincident, and the same with this line. So those should be now on the ground. And then we can start dimensioning the width of these boards and give them a dimension of board. We'll do the same with this one, but on this one, we want to make sure that we're coming at an angle and then give it board. I want this also to be a dimension of board from the chair there. And up here, it doesn't look like everything is parallel, so I'll use the parallel constraints to make sure these two lines are parallel. We can also give this line a dimension of board. Make sure you pull over and then board. These two lines were parallel, but we need to make them collinear. So click this line and this line, and now they're collinear. This will have a dimension of ply divided by 2, but we don't want to drag up. We want to drag over. And then ply divided by 2. And I'm going to give this the dimension of 50. So now we need to continue defining this sketch. I want to give the seat back an angle, so I'll click this angle and then give it an angle of 95 degrees, which is good for a seat. I want this point to be coincident with this line, so I'll click this point and that line. Notice that that's moved that over. That's fine. We can use the select tool to drag it back and then decide where we want that to be. So if I pull this back, now I can give the overall chair depth. So I'm going to do that now. So I want to click on the dimension tool, click the front of the chair, then the back of the chair, and I'll come down and I have a user parameter of depth, and I'll use that. So now this leg can't kick out too far. It's defined by the depth and that angle. We want to define how far back the leg is from the front of the chair. So I'll click here, and I want this to be at least a dimension of ply. These dimensions here will be ply divided by 2. And the same with this one. This will be ply divided by 2. We can give each of these a dimension of 50. And then we want to move this over just so we can see what's happening to the lines. We want everything to overlap half ply here. So we want this line to be in the front, and then there'll be a little bit of overlap of the two pieces. So we want this dimension from here to be ply divided by 2. And then we want the same dimension here. So we want to go from this point to this point and make this ply divided by 2. So now that's really starting to lock down some of the pieces. We need to make dimensions for the spacing of these tabs. So I want them to be 150 apart, and make sure that there's a line in between these. Sometimes when you're drawing your sketch, there won't be a line. And I can click on this line and make it a construction line so it doesn't interfere. And that will help you see where you have lines. Like I have a line here, but now there's no line here. So I need to make sure I add that to my sketch. And then I can use the equal constraint on this line and this line. And now that will center those two tabs. So now they're centered. And the same thing here, I can go ahead and make this a construction line. So that will show that I'm missing a line here. It's always a good idea to have your lines positively drawn in your sketch. It'll help with your extrusions later. Now let's go up here and see how we can define all of these pieces. We need to make this piece centered where it wants to be. So we know we have the backrest height, which is approximately 200, but I want the backrest to be sitting up ply. So what I can do is I can define this dimension here. I can call it backrest minus 50. So I want it centered on the backrest divided by 2. And then I can just take off apply. And so that will put that centered right on the backrest. The last thing we need to do is make sure that this is a vertical with the bottom leg. So I'll click these 2 points and make them vertical to each other. And that should fully define our sketch. We'll double check by looking over in the browser. We have the red padlock showing that our sketch is fully defined. That means we can finish our sketch. So now if we look at this, we have our sketch 1 ply over from the edge of the chair. That means I want to extrude this direction. So I'll press E to extrude, and I want to go positive ply. I'll press OK. And so now I have this piece that has been created for the side. I need to create one more side. There's a bunch of ways I could do this. I could use a mirror. I could create another offset plane and then sketch and project. But in this case, I think I will go up to the top level and I'll create a mirror. And I'm going to mirror a component. Which component? This component. What mirror plane? The center plane. And I'll press OK. So suddenly now I have 2 pieces of my chair. So now let's create the backrest of the chair. To do that at the top level, make a new component. I'm going to call this component backrest. And I want to create a sketch. This time the sketch will be right on the back arms of the chair. Press P to project in more faces. I want this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece. And I'll press OK. Now that we have our geometry in, I want to draw a rectangle. And I don't have to worry about where it is. I could give this a dimension of backrest because that's a user parameter. Then press Tab. And I want to give this a dimension of seat width. So now I have the dimensions of this, but I need to tell where it is in relation to these other pieces. So I want it to be hanging over the edge of the seat, a dimension of ply. And then remember when we drew the side sketch, we had this extend up by a dimension of ply. So I can put that in now. And so that should center those tabs right on the backrest. I'll go ahead and finish my sketch. I want to press E to extrude. Click all of these pieces. And we want to make a new body, and the distance will be ply. So now there's a backrest on our chair. But with these plywood legs, this is going to be pretty weak down on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch to make some braces. So let's make a new top level component, and we'll call this rear brace. In here, we want to make a sketch, but I want to make a sketch on the inside of this leg. So I'm going to create a sketch, and then I'm going to select the face plane of this leg. I want to project the leg geometry in, and then press OK. Now I'm going to isolate rear brace just so nothing is in the way. I want to draw a rectangle, and this rectangle will be board tall by ply wide. Then I'm going to draw 2 lines inside the rectangle. And then I'm also going to draw 2 lines, one up at the top of the rectangle, straight out to the edge, and then one here, straight out to the edge. Press Escape, then select those 2 lines. Press X on your keyboard to make them construction lines, and then we'll click the equal constraint to make them equal. So now this is centered on this angled piece. Let's give this inner piece a dimension of ply. Then we want to center this. So to do that, I'll give this a dimension of board minus ply divided by 2. So now it's centered, and I just have to give it a height. So unisolate the component, and I want to give it a height from the top of the seat. I'll edit the sketch again. I'll press D, grab the top of the seat, the top of this brace, come over, and we're going to go seat height divided by 2. And so now our sketch is fully constrained. I can finish the sketch and begin my extrude. The first thing I want to do is extrude this little piece because this will be the tab that slots in. So get the extrude tool and select 2 sides. One side will be this way, and we want to go ply divided by 2. And then the other way, it wants to be seat width minus ply times 4 because the legs are in a distance of ply on both sides, and they also are ply. So ply times 4, that gets us to here, but we still need to add half a ply. So we'll go plus ply divided by 2. And so that'll put us right in the middle of that leg. Then we can press OK. We'll re-show the sketch on rear brace. And then we'll make one more extrude. You can press E on your keyboard, click these 2 pieces. We could do the same equation, or we could also say extent to object, and we'll click an object, and we'll just say this leg. So that goes automatically to that leg. We want to join, press OK. Now we need a brace on the front of the chair. So I'm going to right click at the top, make a new component. I'll call this front brace. And we want to create a mid plane. So I'm going to click on the construct menu, mid plane, and I want the mid plane to be in between the front legs. So click the front of an edge and then the back edge. It creates this plane in the middle. Press OK. Let's create a sketch right on that plane. And then we're going to press P to project. And this time, make sure you have the body selection. And we have that entire piece right there. And I'm going to press OK. And then we're ready to extrude. So I'll just press E. In this case, we're in the middle of the leg. So I want to make sure I'm going symmetric. And the distance will be ply divided by 2. And then that makes one more piece right there. Let's go ahead and make a center brace just to make sure our chair is nice and strong. I'm going to right click, make a new component. I'll call this center brace. For our center brace, we want to create a sketch, and we can create the sketch on the inside. To make our extrusions easier to do without calculations, I'm going to draw it on the rear brace because remember, we have a mid plane that we constructed for the front brace, so we can use that for our extrusions. So I'm going to create a sketch on the inside of the rear brace. I'll make sure I press P to project. Then I'm going to draw a rectangle in the middle. This rectangle will have dimensions of ply. I can use the midpoint constraint to center it. Sometimes you'll have a constraint. So you see here, I have this constraint already. Just go ahead and delete that. Then I'll click the midpoint constraint and reapply it to the line rather than that point. I need 2 more lines to make the tab. So draw straight across twice. Give this a dimension of ply. And then I want to give this a dimension of board minus ply divided by 2. I can use board because we're referencing that projected geometry, which was already board. So our sketch still is not constrained. So we need to find out why. It looks like this line down here is not collinear with the bottom here. So I'll click the collinear constraint, then click the bottom line. Now everything is constrained. So we're ready to do our extrusion. And we want to extrude in 2 directions. So I'll press E on the keyboard, grab the tab, make sure I have 2 sides. This direction will be ply divided by 2. And then for this direction, we're going to go to an object. And our object is hidden right now. So we're going to re-show the construction plane on the front brace. So there's that plane. And then for our extent, we can go to object, and then we can click this plane. And we know that's going to be halfway through that piece. We'll press OK. Now we can hide that plane because we don't need it. We'll re-show the sketch in our center brace. Now we'll press E again and click both of these pieces. And once again, our distance will be to object. And this time we want the inside of the front brace and press OK. Now we have all of our pieces of our chair. Now that we have all the pieces made, we need to do some combine actions to make the little cutouts for the tabs. We want to do this at the top level component. So make sure that's activated. I'm going to click combine, and then I'll pick the target body. which will be the backrest. Then these two tool bodies of the sides. I want to make sure Keep Tools is activated. The operation is cut. I'll press OK. Let's do the same thing again. We'll combine, and this time we're going to cut out of the bottom seat. The tool bodies will be the two sides. Then we'll press OK. Now we can create another one, and this time we'll use this side and cut out those two side braces. Press OK. We'll do the other side, this side, and then these two side braces. Press OK. Then we need to do the center brace cut out of the two other braces. So we'll click this as the target, this is the tool, press OK. One last one. This is the target, this is the tool, press OK. So now we should have everything okay. And if we inspect and we look for interference, I can select everything. And if I do that and select compute, no interference is detected. That means I've made sure that everything has a tab and slot. Now we need to make sure that the CNC router can cut out these tabs and slots. So let's start right at the top. We'll start at seat 1 and we'll activate this component, and then we'll right click and isolate it to make it easier to see. We'll look at the bottom, and you can see here we have all the pieces that we need to add dog bones to. I'm going to create a sketch on this face. I'm going to project some geometry in, and I want to make sure I have the face selection filter so I get all the internal geometry. And then we need the circle tool. For these T-bone fillets, we want the circles to be at the top here. So we want them coincident with this line, and we want them to have a dimension of bit. You need 4 circles, 1 for each corner, dimension of bit, and then we make them tangent to the edge. Then that way the router bit can cut out that corner. And these will be hidden by the other wood that intersects with them. So get the circle tool, dimension of bit, circle tool again, and the dimension will be bit. Then we'll make them tangent with the edge, and we'll come down and do this for this section here. So we'll get the circle tool, and we'll give it a dimension of bit. We'll get the circle tool again and give it a dimension of bit. Make both of them tangent to the edge. 2 more circles, coincident with this line, dimension of bit. Coincident with this line, dimension of bit, and then grab the tangent constraint and make them tangent to the edge. Now we just need to add circles to the bottom one here. And here we're going to have them again on the top. So we'll get our circle tool and we will draw them the dimension of bit, coincident on that line, circle tool, dimension of bit, coincident on the line, and then get the tangent tool and make them both tangent. Now we could use the sketch mirror to mirror them over there, but then we'd have to click every one on the extrude. So we're going to go ahead and mirror the feature instead. So let's finish the sketch. We'll need 2 extrudes because they're going different depths. So let's do the first one. I'm going to click extrude, and then we want these profiles, and check your direction, and the direction will be negative ply. So now those are cut out, and then we need to do one more extrude, but we need to show the sketch. So twirl out your seat, and then show sketch 2. Click the extrude command. Then we want to get all 8 profiles. And this dimension will be negative ply divided by 2. Then we'll cut and press OK. We can hide that sketch now. And now we want to create a mirror of features. So I'll create a mirror. I'll say features, and I'll click these 2 features. And what will be the mirror plane? The mirror plane will be the origin center. And now you can see that it's going to cut all of those from the other side. And we'll press OK. So now our seat is ready to be cut on the CNC. Let's move down our browser and activate side 1. And then we'll isolate it. So we can see side 1. We want to draw this on the inside of the chair. That way we can do one sketch and get these little squares and everything else. So I'm going to draw a sketch. I'm going to press P to get geometry. Press OK. And we'll start at the top. So we need to draw circles, and this time they're going to be coincident with these short edges. We'll make them a dimension of bit, and then they need to be tangent with the top edge here. Sometimes the coincident constraint doesn't take, so make sure you click the circle and then that line, and now they're coincident. Get another circle, click on the line, dimension of bit. And this one also is not coincident, so I'll click this and this. Then I'll click the tangent constraint and make it tangent to this line. We'll move down to the seat part. We don't want them on this edge. We want the two circles here so they're covered by the seat when it's together. I'll click the circle command right here, dimension of bit. One more circle, dimension of bit. Then I'll make them tangent to this line and tangent to this line. Now we need to do it for these tabs here. Get the circle tool, coincident with this line, dimension of bit. Circle tool, coincident with this line, dimension of bit. Then we'll make them tangent with the bottom of the seat. Then we need two more circles over here. We'll get the circle tool, coincident, dimension of bit. One more over here, coincident with the dimension of bit. And then we'll make them tangent with the bottom of the seat. This one as well, tangent with the bottom of the seat. Then we need to make T-bone fillets for these tabs. Let's get the circle tool and we'll give it a dimension of bit. Circle tool, dimension of bit. Circle tool, dimension of bit. Circle tool, collinear on this edge, dimension of bit. Then we need to make each of them tangent to the other edge. And then that way they're locked in place. Then we just need to add T-bone fillets to this square. So we'll get the circle tool, coincident on that line, dimension of bit. Circle tool, coincident on that line, dimension of bit. Circle tool, coincident on this line, dimension of bit. And then one more circle, coincident on that line, dimension of bit. Let's make them tangent to the edges. Okay, so now we're ready to finish our sketch and add our extrusions. We'll need two operations because there's two different depths. Let's do these ones first. Click those four, and then these four. And this dimension will be negative ply divided by 2. So now those are all cut out. Let's do the extrusion again. And this time we need to show sketch number 2. So we can see the profiles. Click this one on that tab. And on this tab. And we need the 2 right here. And then finally up at the backrest tab. And these ones will go the full dimension of ply, but it'll be negative ply. So now all those are cut out, and then we can hide our sketch. So now we need to make extrusions on this side, but we don't have to redraw everything. We can project in the extrusions from the other side. So let's activate this side. Then we're going to create a sketch on the inside face. And we want to then rotate around and press P, project, from the other side. And we want to make sure the face selection filter is on. Then we'll press OK. So now we're ready to go ahead and start making the extrusions. We can isolate to make it easier to see. We'll do the extrusions on the bottom here. Press E. We want all 4 of these. And then all 4 of these. And this will be negative ply divided by 2. Now we just need to make these extrusions and then we'll show the sketch again. Sketch 1, get the extrude tool, and then select all the profiles on the top. That will go the full distance of ply. So it looks like I didn't get an extrusion from the first one. So let me do these first, and then I'll go ahead and manually. And this will go negative ply. If I go ahead and activate side 1 and then isolate it, I'll see that I didn't make that extrusion. So I can edit that feature, and I clicked the wrong one. So then I click this one, and now it'll be okay. Then I activate side mirror and then isolate it. And that projection comes through. So this is the good thing about parametric modeling is I can now edit this feature and have the same thing happen. So I'll add that piece in, and then everything will be fine. So now I can hide that sketch. I can unisolate side mirror, and we'll continue moving down our browser, adding fillets. So let's go ahead and activate the backrest, and then I'll isolate it. On the back of the backrest, we want to draw a sketch. And then we need to draw some fillets. This time we only need to draw them on one side. Make them a dimension of bit, 2 more circles on the bottom, dimension of bit, a circle here, dimension of bit. Then we need to make them tangent to the edge of the mortise. These ones on the bottom need to be tangent as well. And then we can finish the sketch. Now we'll extrude all 4 of these circles, and it'll be negative pi divided by 2. So then we'll create a mirror. Up in the create menu, we'll say create mirror, and we want to make sure it's features. It'll be this extrude. And what mirror line do we want? We want to use the center one, and we'll say okay. So now those are mirrored over to the other piece. Now the backrest is done. We can go ahead and activate the rear brace, isolate it so we can focus on it. And then we can create our fillets. Let's create a sketch on the rear brace. Then we need to draw in circles on the side here, so these can be coincident with dimensions of bit. And then we'll make one here, coincident dimension of bit. And then they need to be tangent. And here we can either draw 2 more circles over here or mirror. It depends on which you prefer. I'll go ahead and draw the circles. Dimension of bit, circle here, dimension of bit. Make them tangent with the edge there. And then we'll finish the sketch. We'll press E to extrude and click all of the pieces. And we'll go negative ply. On the rear brace, we also need to add fillets to this center section. So we'll go ahead and create a sketch on the rear side of it. Get the circle tool. Make this a dimension of bit. Draw 3 more circles, dimension of bit. And then we'll make them tangent to the edge. Then we can finish our sketch and make an extrusion. Click all 4 of these profiles, and we'll go back, negative ply divided by 2. Unisolate the rear brace. Activate the front brace. And then we can just project all of those fillets to the front brace. To do that, we'll create a sketch on the front brace. Press P, and then we'll rotate to the rear of the back brace. Make sure our selection filter has faces. And then that will bring all that geometry to the front face. We can now isolate it so it's easier to see. Rotate to the back, and we're ready to press E to extrude. These first ones will be the full extension of negative ply. We need to reshow the sketch. It's sketch 2. And then we can do these inside extrusions. Press E, click all 4 pieces. It'll be negative ply divided by 2. Now we just need to add fillets on the center brace. So unisolate the front brace. Activate the center brace. And then we can click isolate. Get the circle tool. And then we need 4 circles with a dimension of bit. This one also will be dimension of bit, and then we'll make them tangent. And then we need 2 more circles over here with a dimension of bit. And then we'll make them tangent with the edge. We can finish our sketch and do our last extrusions. If you can't select the profile that you want, click and hold on the profile, and then you can select. So here, once again, it's trying to select the front face. So deselect that, click and hold, then let go and click the profile. Click and hold, release, click the profile. We're going to go negative ply, then press OK. We can unisolate the center brace, and then we can activate the top level component. So now our piece is fully dog boned and ready to go. We can hide this sketch in the front brace. We need to lay this out for CNC machining. To do that, make a new top level component. Call this a new component. This component will be called CNC. Inside CNC, I'll make another new component. And I'll call this plywood. Inside plywood, I'll create a sketch on the ground plane. And I'll draw my piece of plywood. This will be approximately 48 inches by 48 inches. And then we want to move the sketch around so we have it constrained. I like to have this dimensioned from the origin. We'll make it 500. And then we'll make it coincident with the origin in case we need to make it larger. and then we'll finish our sketch. Press Extrude. It'll be a dimension of ply. Activate the top level CNC component, then shift click all our pieces, right click to copy, then right click on CNC and paste. We'll move them to the side and then press OK. Now let's hide the original model so we don't get confused. And then we're going to create joints. I'll press J to create a joint. I'll grab back face, click on here, and then I can press OK. I'll press J again, click on the face, click on the plywood, click again, press OK. Press J again, and you want to make sure that you click on the side that you want the face down. Click on the side of the chair, click here, it will lay down flat. I'll say OK. Then we need to rotate over to this side, press J, click on the chair, click on the plywood, it'll lay down flat. Make sure that it's a planar joint. Sometimes they'll be rigid. And so this last joint I made, I want to edit it and make it be a planar joint. This will allow us to move them around much easier later. Then we just need to make joints for these pieces. So press J, grab this face, click the plywood, make sure the motion is planar, press OK. 2 more joints to make. We'll make this piece here. Make sure that the blue Z is pointed out, then click the plywood. Motion is planar, press OK. And then the last brace, doesn't matter which side for this one. Click this side, then the plywood, then one more time, and then press OK. Now we can move these pieces around for our layout. So look at the top view. And then we can start by clicking in the browser and then pressing M or move. And then we can move these pieces. But notice that everything moves around. So you need to ground the plywood. Right click on plywood and click ground. That way that won't move ever. Then we can start with different parts of the seat. Press M, move it up. And if one doesn't move, that means that it is a rigid joint. So you can see how these two are rigid joints and these ones are revolute. So you can go back in and you can edit your joint and change the motion to planar and then press OK. And so we still have one rigid joint right here, and you can highlight it in the timeline. It'll turn blue, right click, edit joint, and then we'll make it planar. We should be able to move it around by selecting in the browser, pressing M, and then move it to the place we want on our plywood. Press OK. Let's move side. Let's move the side into position. These will be the most difficult to lay out. We'll rotate it. And then we'll bring it down here. And we'll try to nest these two sides together and then place the other pieces around them. Okay. Now get side 2. Press M. And I'll rotate it. It looks like they won't nest that way. I'll put it down here for now. Looks like everything's going to fit. Press OK. And I'll get the backrest. Press M. And we can move that over here. Okay. Side 2 mirror needs to move over just a little bit. So I'll move it over a little bit. Okay. And then we want to try to avoid having these too close. So I'll move backrest as well. That looks good there. Then I just need to move the braces. So the front brace, press M, move that into position. We can put it over here. Okay. We need the center brace, press M, move that down in between this chair leg here. So then we just need to do the rear brace. We'll click it, press M, move it into position, and OK. Now we have everything ready for manufacture. We can re-show our original model by clicking the eyeballs on the timeline. We can activate the top level component. And the nice thing about doing it this way is we have all our joints that are able to be moved around and our model that we can edit. But before we do anything, we want to make sure that we capture the position, because when we move those planar joints, Fusion needs to remember where they are. So I'll click Capture Position, and then we're ready to move into the manufacturer workspace of Fusion 360.